I'm Chief Investigator Ron Regan, live at the federal courthouse here in Akron, joining you on our Newsnet 5 live streaming coverage of the Jimmy Dimora federal corruption case. As you know, as you've been following along here, Mr. Dimora has been in court now since 9 o'clock this morning. His sentencing hearing began yesterday afternoon, but to bring you up to date on what has transpired over the last 2 hours, a federal judge here has now found that he qualifies for what is called an offense level of 40. Now, that is federal sentencing guideline lingo, and it essentially puts him in a category which, if he were to be convicted on a federal sentencing guideline level of 40, that would mean that he would have just slightly over 30 years in federal prison. So that is a very, very significant figure. Now, that level of a 40, sentencing level of 40, and the corresponding 30 years could be reduced, and that is what they are beginning to argue now. However, as soon as I say that to you, know this, that two of the major reductions that his attorneys thought he would qualify for were denied. One of those was his attorneys felt that because of his age and because of some health conditions that he should be dropped down several sentencing guidelines. The judge in this case said, no, ain't going to happen. He doesn't qualify for that. And in another instance, his defense attorneys, as a huge truck goes by, had argued that the dollar loss of the bribes, which was totaled to be about $450,000, that loss really overstated the seriousness of the crimes that were committed. And so because, in the view of defense attorneys, that overstated the seriousness of the crime, they felt that he should be entitled to a lower level of sentencing. The judge, federal judge in this case, said, nope, that's not going to happen either. And in fact, by the end of the morning, federal judge Sarah Leoy had ruled that not only was Mr. Dimora the leader of a criminal activity, but that there was no question and no doubt that he was the leader of criminal activity. She went on to say that while Mr. Russo accepted bribes in terms of cash, Mr. Dimora would settle for simply meals, trips, and sex, and home improvements. And that was the kind of method of operation that, in her view, Mr. Dimora participated in. So at this point, there is a 30-minute break upstairs. His defense attorneys have not been successful at reducing the level of federal sentencing guidelines, and right now he stands at facing possibly 30 years in prison. Now, this will continue through the afternoon, and it's entirely possible that that 30 years could get knocked down closer to 26 or 27. She'll have to make that ruling. The other events that are going to transpire, we understand Mr. Dimora will take the stand in his own behalf, along with his two sons. So that is what is going to happen as we move forward into the afternoon. But, you know, again, just to update you, his defense attorneys have lost two very significant arguments here as to why he should not be spending 30 years in prison. And that's where it stands right now. So we're going to bring you some more when we get more information on this. Of course, I'll be live in about 35 minutes on News Channel 5 to bring you all of the details on what has happened inside. And when news warrants, we're going to get back here on Newsnet5.com streaming to bring you up to date. Reporting live in Akron, I'm Chief Investigator Ron Regan.